name is Marisa Pereira and I'm reporting for WORLDbytes. On the 29th of March 2019, the UK was meant to leave the European Union, with or without a deal. That hasn't happened, so I'm here in Parliament Square at the pro-Brexit march to find out what people think about what's happening to Brexit.
I've always been a strong believer in leaving the European Union. Obviously, I was not young enough in 1975 when the last choice was given. So I think it's probably the most momentous and useful question we've ever asked of the population. And to actually have them go back on this and not deliver strictly what was asked is a complete disgrace and a sham of democracy, and it's knocked everybody's faith in the British parliamentary system. And so for the first time in my life, I felt it so important to come and make my voice heard, even wave a flag, whatever, just to show that I'm here and I believe in this very strongly.
So how do you see the votes that took place in Parliament recently, the indicative votes?
Government hasn't got a grip on what they're doing, and they're having to go to Parliament because they've run out of ideas. I mean, this indicative vote thing is just crazy. I've never known it before in the past.
So are you in favour or against May's withdrawal agreement?
I'm totally against May's withdrawal agreement. I was utterly against it from the very first. It's got all kinds of constitutional, political, financial implications that several people here have said to me it would actually be better to remain than to take that. Because the withdrawal agreement is no springboard for any further progress. It will give everybody an excuse to say, right, you've done that, we're out the European Union, even though we're actually only half out, matter done and dusted. Whereas even if we remain, we can come back for a second go at getting out the European Union later if we need to. The withdrawal agreement was limbo with probably a thrust towards going back into the European Union at some point. It was a springboard to in, not a springboard to out. So absolutely not. The worst thing ever.
Do you actually think we're going to ever leave, given what's going on?
We will leave one day. If we don't leave, I think the European Union will implode for us eventually one day, but it might be a decade or so away. I'm quite sure that when the smoke has cleared from this, there'll be a different political landscape, and who knows what might happen. But I think one day we will no longer be a member of the European Union. It might be the case that nobody's a member of the European Union, but we've tried our best, I think. Representative democracy hasn't worked very well, has it? I mean, we have a strange political system with a first past the post that makes it very difficult for any other voices to be heard other than the two mainstream parties. And even that doesn't really count because they break their manifestos left, right and centre. To have a representative democracy, we could move to something like Switzerland has, where they have multiple referenda on all kinds of different subjects. For me, that would be absolutely wonderful, but I can't see it happening. I mean, I think they're almost punishing us for making a decision they didn't like to start with. So they're hardly going to grant us any more of that, are they?
Hi, I'm here today because I'm sick of my voice not being heard. I run a small company and it's been strangled by the EU. I really, really want out. I feel it's the best thing for my country. I'll take a little bit of short-term pain for long-term gain every day of the week. And I'm really sick of the people that are doom and gloom mongers who everything that they've said about Brexit has been failed. They said when the votes went, the economy would go, interest rates would shoot up, the stock market would crash, thousands of people would leave the country, businesses would walk out. It hasn't happened at all. And I'm really, really confident for the future. The British, when we have a little bit of pressure put on us, we rise and we really do well. And I'm sure that this will happen. I'd like to see an end of the bickering. Let's all actually pull together and make this great country great. And that means for everybody here. That's EU citizens as well. They're very welcome here. It's a great country. Come and join us.
Can I just follow on from what the gentleman said? All the economists said if we didn't join the euro, that would be the end of things for us. Look what happened. We were better off. The economists have proved they know nothing. The people have voted to leave. That was in a democracy. That must be upheld. Anything else is the end of democracy in this country.
Can I just say about the scaremongering from especially Philip Hammond? The scaremongering that went on saying that people with diabetes wouldn't get insulin. If you had a business and you sold 25% of your insulin to Britain, would you stop sending it to Britain? Would you risk your jobs and your money and profit to punish us? No.
I think we got the vote, surprisingly, and I think we've been duped all the way. This government have got no intention of leaving. particularly Theresa May. We've got a few loyal MPs in there with some integrity that believe in Brexit, but whether it's enough to get us over the line, I don't know. I feel very disheartened, very angry. 3 years we've waited, half the time of a Second World War period. This is ridiculous. We're still no nearer to leaving. I think it's a shambles. The EU right now, as we speak, have got offices in Millbank. They're campaigning through the country to get a second vote. They're interfering and they're undermining our democracy as we speak. And if they have longer time, this is what they've done with 6 other countries and achieved a reversal of a referendum. That's what they're trying to do in this country.
So what about no deal, guys? Is that a viable option for you?
It's what we want. It's what we want.
Get on with it. Are BMW going to say, oh, we'll shut all our factories? Of course they're not. They'll come back and do a deal.
Absolutely. There's nothing to fear whatsoever. Brexit is going to be fabulous for this country.
With a no deal, right? We come out with a no deal, which we should do, because you don't go anywhere with a deal beforehand. You do go no deal, then we can start to deal once we've come out.
Yes.
And that way we get the advantage, not them.
No deal is a negotiating position.
Yes.
It's no more than
It
that,
is.
negotiating position.
Yes, absolutely right. We've all been brainwashed to accept this word no deal. It's a negative term. It's actually we're leaving, which is what we put on our cross. Leave or remain, we are leaving. And we're leaving on WTO terms. If they want to come and negotiate with us, that is the way to do it, I see.
But let's be realistic, guys. Most MPs in that house do not support a no deal.
MPs in there are farmers, rich farmers, who get over £1 million a year
Yes.
EU subsidies.
Yes.
Right? Well, over 150 MPs in there own second homes abroad in Europe, own businesses in Europe.
Yes.
There is no way on God's earth are they going to go and say we're leaving.
Yes.
So we've got over 200 MPs there with interests abroad in Europe. Who's not going to self-interest.
Yeah.
Well, no, all the remaining MPs aren't going to be there after the next election.
No, absolutely
So
right.
You've got the Labour voters, right? A good section of them. I was out last night, and I was a bunch of people, 10 of them maybe, all Labour voters for the entirety of their life, and every one of them said they're never going to vote Labour again. Labour's going to half their vote. Conservatives are exactly the same, it'll be half their vote. I've never voted in my life except for the referendum. I've had democracy stolen from me.
Yes.
I'm not representing. There's millions like me.
Yes.
So you've got the Labour disenchanted, the Tory disenchanted. People like me, I would now vote for Joe Stalin, Adolf Hitler's love child, if he could give us Brexit.
Are you hopeful that Brexit will happen?
Without a shadow of a doubt. We're going nowhere. We're going nowhere. Can I just say one thing that Mrs May did, and this really annoyed me, where she allowed no deal to be taken off the market. That is like playing a hand of poker and showing your opposition the cards you've got. There's no negotiating tool then. And let's just face something here. The EU actually export more to us than vice versa. So they've got more to lose than us, and money talks. I work in financial services. I generally think I know what I'm talking about. I don't think that we should be ridiculously aggressive towards Europe at all. They're still our closest partner. We still want to trade with them. You know, this idea that it's going to be an Eastern Bloc and nobody's going to trade with each other again and we're going to have a big wall put around us is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, we're just going to trade on different terms. And that's all it is. And people need to start really waking up and smelling the coffee and realising what it is.
So what do you say to those people that suggest that actually Leave voters are all racist, backwards, little Englanders? Do you buy that?
No, I'm sharing a house with a West Indian and a Muslim at the moment, so there you go.
What's wrong with being patriotic? What is wrong with being patriotic? I love my country and I want it to be free from the shackles of the EU.
So do you support May's withdrawal agreement?
Certainly not, it's an appeasement.
Absolutely not. It's a travesty and a betrayal of the British people.
What's interesting is that everyone here supports no deal.
I'm a London taxi driver. I'm here today to support the Brexit demonstration because I feel that no deal is the only option for us now. All other options have been voted down by Parliament. Theresa May's international treaty has been voted down 3 times now, so that's a definite no-go. So I feel the only way forward is to leave on a no deal on the 12th of April.
But do you think Parliament will allow that to happen?
I think Parliament are absolutely shambolic. I think they should represent their constituents, not just in this representative democracy that they keep telling us they know better than us. Their constituents in 63% of the country voted to leave, and they should honour that.
There are lots of Union Jacks, but it's not a jingoistic, nationalistic, racist gathering. The flags are much more symbolic of a mild, polite patriotism and belief in national sovereignty. In fact, some people are keen to point this out.
I'm a massive fan of free worldwide movement. There should not be an elitist European solitary movement between white middle class people. If you have free movement, make it worldwide. It should not be hard, it should not be too hard or harder for a Taiwanese doctor or a nurse from Thailand or wherever to come to this country than it is for a Swedish criminal. Yet it is.
We are here to support Brexiteers in their choice because our political analysis show us that European Union is since 15 years or 20 years destroying our economy and is pushing our way of life to a non-democratic horizon. And we friends like United Kingdom as friends are people who are attached to liberty and democracy. A lot of people have been the feeling they have been stolen their democracy. This is why Brexit is our wish.
I work in an architecture office in Brighton. I'm an author. I wrote this book, How the Nobodies Beat the Somebodies, and I'm here today to try to make Britain a democracy again. But right now, a coup d'etat has been carried out against the electorate by the executive, and we need to restore democracy in this country. A democracy is a place where what people vote for happens. We voted to leave and we haven't left, therefore we're not a democracy. So it's a very simple knockdown argument.
How do you see what's going on in Parliament?
It's very sinister. Remain, with only a minority of support in the country, have managed to get their people in place in every single position of political power in the country. Every single person in this country that has any political power campaigned for Remain. The Chancellor, the Prime Minister, the head of the Bank of England, the head of the CBI, the head of the TUC, the head of the BBC, the head of the Civil Service, even the head of the church. Like there is no one in this country that has any political power that wasn't a Remain campaigner. And Remain are very skillful at advancing their projects by stealth. And so if a democratic vote doesn't go the way they want, they say, oh, democracy is a process. But if it goes the way they want, they say democracy is an event. And so they go from seeing democracy as a process or democracy as an event, depending on whether the result of the election confirms their prejudices. If it does, it's great, and they move on. If it doesn't, then they say, oh, there's a transition period which never ends and which never begins. In other words, nothing ever changes. It's a way they can masquerade of portraying themselves as Democrats whilst carrying out a war against democracy. Right now, technically, we will leave with no deal in 2 weeks' time. That is the dream ticket, because the way the law stands now, according to European law, EU law and UK law, in 14 days' time, we can write whatever laws we want on whatever subject we want. We can pass our own laws regarding goods, services, labour and capital. That's not a problem, that's a solution. And in 14 days' time, we can strike whatever trade deals we like with any country in the world. That's not a problem, that's a solution. The only problem is that when we get up to the deadline, it might get extended and extended, because voting, for EU supporters, a deadline is a bit like a vote. It's only legitimate if it confirms their prejudices. If they agree with what's going to happen after the deadline, they go with it. If they don't agree with what's going to happen, they'll just extend it indefinitely, because they take a one-eyed view of everything that doesn't confirm their prejudices.
Those MPs think that they can kick democracy out the window and think that we won't react, because we will react, and their jobs will be on the line, and so will this country. because we will become a third-rate country with no say in our own business.
I've come down to really march against what Parliament are doing and the EU. I voted to leave the European Union, and really I feel that they've gone back on their promises, and I feel really democracy has not been carried out. So I decided to come down and protest. I was hoping it would be a victory, but it isn't. So I wrote this banner which represents 1,000 years of British democracy, and so that's why I've got Votes for Women, the suffragette movement, and I also represent kind of the Magna Carta era, and the working man and everybody who is allowed to vote. So that explains my board, and that's why I'm here.
Can you tell us a little bit about you and what brought you here today?
I am an immigrant. I came here from Belgium 23 years ago. I became British. I adapted to British society. I came to Britain because it's a country that believes in freedom.
So I'm assuming you voted leave.
I did.
And I was wondering, why did you vote leave?
I voted leave because I think we will be better off when we leave the European Union. I think we will trade freely with the world instead of being stuck to a failing bloc. The European Union has been failing economically compared to the rest of the world for the last 50 years, and I think we'll do much better when we trade freely with the world. 17.4 million voted to leave the European Union, and it's a travesty of democracy if the referendum is ignored, if the referendum is set aside. The people have spoken. I am a supporter of no deal. I think we'll do perfectly well on WTO rules, as most countries in the world do. We will do very well indeed. Can you imagine the outrage if the people's decision is set aside? It's inconceivable. And so I think we'll leave, I hope we'll leave, but who knows? We have a parliament largely consisting of Remainers who do not represent us. I have always believed in direct democracy, but this is Britain, we don't have direct democracy. But the people have spoken in the referendum. We are the sovereign people. If our voice doesn't count, whose voice counts? And it's a tyranny, isn't it? It's 450 Remain MPs who are overruling 17.4 million, representing the 65 million. It's extraordinary. 450 people who think they're better than us, the 65 million. It's outrageous, absolutely outrageous.
Today is such a momentous day. It should be the day that we leave the abomination that is the EU. And obviously the building there has taken our democracy away from us and ruined it. And so I feel that it's peaceful, it's a bunch of really nice people. I know lots of Leave voters and they're all really, really passionate about it. So I've just come to show my support. I could have stayed at home. I've had quite a long journey up here, but no, I want to come up and show my support. People with common sense, most of which Leavers are, have seen what the MPs, what's happening with them. And since the last 3 years, it's just proven us to be right in every aspect. And I want to go forward free of them. I want to be we are part of Europe, obviously we're a European country. I don't mind working with the EU, but they're a tiny part of the world and they stop us from working with the rest of the world, and they are a dictatorship, and I don't care what anyone says, they are a dictatorship.
We are in a situation where our political representatives are refusing to represent us. The vote for Brexit was the largest democratic vote in the entire history of this nation, and there are people inside that building trying to stop it from happening. We have got to understand the seriousness of the situation that we are currently in. It's 3 years since we voted to leave the European Union, and we are no closer to leaving. And that is down to one simple reason. Our politicians lied to us. They said that they would implement the decision we made. We now know that was a lie. They said we would leave the single market and the customs union. We now know that was a lie. They said they would listen to us. We now know that was a lie. The biggest lie they have told is that we didn't really know what we were voting for in 2016. Absolute bullshit. We knew, the truth of the matter is, we knew exactly what we were voting for. We were voting to leave the European Union. We were voting to leave the European Union because it is an undemocratic, illiberal, deplorable institution. We were voting to leave the European Union because we think decisions about British law and trade and borders should be made by people we elect. We voted to leave the European Union because we believe in democracy. The people inside that building may have given up on the idea of democracy, but we haven't. This is now more than a fight to save Brexit. This is a fight to save democracy itself. Because if the establishment overturns Brexit, they will be making a mockery of the right to vote. They will be making a mockery of the people who fought and died for our democratic rights. They will be making a mockery of us. The question before us now is really simple. Should the public have a real say in how the nation is governed? They say no, we say yes. Thank you.